What's up guys, it's Jay with Bearded Dad Fishing, and today we are fixing the #1 complaint on the Old Town Sportsman Autopilot, which is that crappy trolling motor plug. So we have a replacement and we'll get it on there, but first, dad joke of the day: why did the bike fall over? Because it was too tired. And that dad joke is brought to you by my buddy Brian, the Michigan fisherman. Check him out on YouTube. And if you're not part of the Facebook group, Kayak Fishing Dads, make sure you jump on over there and join the conversation. So the #1 issue and complaints with the Old Town Sportsman Autopilot, if you have one, you already know this, is these crappy little trolling motor plugs. So if you can see this right here, is the two-pronged plugs. These things are very prone to breaking off. And if you belong to any of the Facebook groups from Old Town, you see that happens quite often. So thankfully, replacements are available, and that's what we are doing today. So we are going to replace this plug, and we are going to add in the receptacle too, which we're going to attempt to do it right over this so we don't have to drill another hole into the kayak. And we're also going to do it back here as well with the battery case. So we're going to replace the plug, which this one is the female end, but the male end is right in there with the 2 prongs. So we're gonna replace it, get it all spiffed up and nice, and it shouldn't be too bad. I have a couple tools here that we're gonna use. So obviously a screwdriver, pliers, because if we're gonna try to replace this door, you need pliers to get these little springs out. The easy option is if you want to drill another hole in your kayak, you're welcome to do that. That's going to be a little bit easier than what we're going to do, but this isn't going to be too bad. Besides that, I just have some clear silicone just to waterproof it a little bit. To make the hole a little bit bigger, what you're going to need is going to be like a step bit like this. So I just bought this from Lowe's. The step bit kits go anywhere from 50 bucks to $70. This one was 70 bucks. And then a box knife and just some other maybe random tools here and there, but that's basically it. I'm not handy. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that, but with a couple basic tools, we can get this stuff done. So we're gonna get this replaced, and hopefully we won't run into that issue where we're have a loose connection, or even worse, break off one of those prongs and you're dead in the water. So we don't want that. So let's jump into it, and I'll show you guys the replacements that we got. So these are from Amazon. They are the Gyren 50 amp trolling motor receptacle kit, and they look just like this. So ouch, they're hot. They've been out in the sun for a little bit. It's hot, it's really hot, so I'm gonna be sweating, guys, just so you know. But the nice thing about these, let me put the camera down so I can show you guys, is gonna be that this little red band here twist, and then you could just pull it off. So this is the plug that goes into the kayak, and this is for the trolling motor or for the battery case. But once you click it in, there's only one way it goes, and once it clicks in, you push it and it won't fall off. So you can't accidentally pull it out and break a prong. You can't bump it. You have to twist and pull, and that's the really nice part. And I really wish Minn Kota had that option when they installed these, but no worries. This was about $50 on Amazon. Of course, I'll link this in the description below, so make sure you check that out. They do have other options for plugs as well that range from $40 to $80 to 130 bucks. But this one, is really highly rated, and it's gonna be an easy install. So we're gonna jump into it right now. So I already took the screws off this plug. This is the original plug from Old Town. So easy, they just come right out, and you have plenty of slack here. So we're gonna cut, first things first, we're gonna cut these, the red and black wires, and then get them connected to the new receptacle. But we have to mess around with this first to get it to fit right in there, because I really don't want to put another hole into the kayak. So easy. All right, so we're gonna cut these first. I've never done this before, so we're gonna learn together. Hopefully I don't make too much of a boo-boo. There we go. Number 2. So I cut both wires. Make sure you don't lose them down here. And we just have to strip them a little bit, which if you have wire strippers, cool. If not, I'm just gonna use this box cutter. blade to just strip them a little bit. And that's it. Pair of pliers, just pull it right off. You really don't need wire strippers. A little razor blade's fine. Just be careful that you're not cutting too deep. And the black wire is done, so pretty easy. I left about like 1/2 inch of exposed wire here, and that'll fit perfectly in the receptacle plug right in the back here. So it even comes with these little screws that you just loosen and tighten. That way you can get it in there and tighten it up. But first, before we do that, we're going to try to modify this plug here. So first things first is let's take this little door off, and then we're gonna cut around the base to get rid of this thick part here, to get it to fit in, because we can't just put this directly in that same hole, because the hole that is already drilled into the kayak is much bigger. So we're just gonna kind of piggyback it so it looks a little bit cleaner, and it's not gonna be too hard, hopefully. We got to get this little door off, and to do that you just push. It has this the little pins there. I don't know if you can see that right in there. Anyways, the little pins, you can just push it right out, and it'll just pop out the end like that. And with a pair of pliers, just pull it right out. And the spring comes out. It's just attached right in there. And then we are going to cut around the base here. To cut around it, I'm just going to use a box knife, but you can do a hacksaw or a jigsaw or whatever your heart desires. I just don't feel like pulling all that stuff out, so this will do. And just like that, we'll clean it up a little bit, but it cuts right off, and you got the receptacle off. So you can just trim around to clean up some of that plastic. All right, so there we got it all cut off, and we are gonna get this to go in here. So it's a little bit small and offset, but we gotta get these little hinge parts off that we're holding on the lid, and that'll help us. Oops, don't do it on your kayak, you might cut into it. All right, so still I was able to get those little pieces off that hold the hinge, and now we got to make it bigger. Now these holes that you're going to drill for the receptacle is 7/8 of an inch. If you're drilling a new hole, a little spade bit like this will be fine. If you're going to go based off of this so that you don't have to drill a new hole, your best bet is going to be a step bit. It's just going to be a lot cleaner, and this one goes all the way to 1/8 of an inch. And on these step bits you can see where they're marked. Like this one is right here, 7/8 of an inch, which is where we got to go to. All right, so just like that with the step bit, it made it big enough where we can just plop it right in, and you see how it just sits there ever so perfectly. And I did have to take these little nubs down a little bit more just so it sits really flush, but that was easy. And I did all the cutting with just a little box knife, so you really don't need to go over the top with anything big or power tools unless you want to. This is America, you do what you want. And that's it. So it's in. Now we just got to drill the little holes, and we could get this set. We don't got to be digging up on there and tightening nuts and bolts and everything. We could do it all right here, and then we're good to go. Easy peasy. All right, so I ended up just going with a 5/32 drill bit as it fit perfectly. And the other one, the 9/64, was just too small. So use the 5/32 if you're gonna use these little machine screws that it comes with. If you're not, just use regular self-tapping screws would be fine. Like, I really don't think you need all this hot mess for these screws. And then you don't gotta worry about the nuts and the washers and everything else. So I don't know if you can see, I am sweating a hot storm, dude. It is like 95 degrees and I'm middle of the day out in the sun making some cool videos to watch with y'all. So we're gonna put some silicone right around here on the receptacle part. That way, if there is any leak, it won't come through. That's what we hope anyways. And then just like that. It lined up really good. I think I made it a hair crooked, but it's not a big deal. And it looks better than adding another hole to the kayak. Comes with some washers, we'll put them on there and then we'll throw the nuts on there. And then we could attach our wires and we should be good to go at that point. All right, so it's on. I've got the nuts on there and the little washers. One thing I forgot to do and show you was to add this little cap. So make sure before you connect the receptacle to the old mount for the old receptacle that you include this, you put the little cap on there, because on one side, on the back side, underneath this right here, it keeps the water out, and obviously on the top it holds the cap, and then you can just pop it right over like that so you don't get water inside of there. So, but it's on. Now we just got to get the wires in there, and that's the easy part. So this was the hard part, and it wasn't even hard, just getting it in there nice and neat. So because I had to take it out again, and the silicone doesn't look the greatest anymore, but it's all good. I'm gonna seal it up with a little bit more and we're good to go. All right guys, I made a big oopsies, but I fixed it. So I didn't account for these screws with the nuts fitting into the existing hole. So everything else fit until it came to these screws. So I grabbed the metal file and I just honestly worked it around the edges a little bit and figured out where those screws landed on here to make the hole a little bigger. So that's what I did, and now it fits really snug in there. So it pushes in a little bit further than that, but so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to silicone around this as well, just to make sure it stays nice and watertight. But it shouldn't be a big deal. I think it's gonna hold well, and we should be good to go. So just keep in mind though, those screws, I mean, you can cut them off, but then you still probably have to accommodate for those nuts. But this is another reason you should probably go with self-tapping screws. If you go with self-tapping screws, you can avoid this step altogether, because you put it in there and you just drill it all together from the receptacle through the old plug into the kayak. So that's probably the best route to go. I didn't know this. I didn't consider this going in, but now that you watch this video ahead of time, you know that you can do that and you don't have to file around the edges or mess around with it like I did. So either way, it is done and it fits nice and snug in there. So now I'm gonna silicone around the edges here, and then well, first I'll reattach the wires, get it in there, silicone around the edges, and then go on to the trolling motor connection, which is gonna be easy peasy, I hope, and then we're good to go. That's it. So this is the receptacle part here. So this unscrews and you just connect the wires in there. So this also comes off too, but you connect the wires in there, and then this tightens over the wires to create a watertight seal. And that's it, man. After we do that, I was gonna do the battery box in the back, but it is so dang hot out here. I'm just gonna screw this bad boy in and call it a day. Also, check out how much water is in my rod holders. This is what I like about, or what I don't like about keeping this stuff outside without a cover. But my new cover is coming in the mail from Carver Covers. I've heard great things about them, so I'm excited to get that on, and I'm hoping to get a review for Carver Covers in as well pretty soon. So let's get this bad boy on and then we call it a day. First things first, we cut this plug off and then we get to working on it. Try to cut it as high as you can. That way you don't gotta risk losing a bunch of wire. Whew. Plug is off. Probably a bit easier if you snip them off, but I'm being stubborn. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Gonna just strip the wires a little bit, expose those ends to get them in here. I do have a piece of heat shrink tubing that I'm gonna put around this to kind of mimic the tubing that was already on there, so this doesn't come apart. All right, the wires are stripped. Just twist them up a bit. All right, the plug part comes out off in 3 pieces. So you got your male plug, then you have the body, then you have the end for the wires that creates that watertight seal. So you take off this part and you'll see it's very similar to the receptacle. So we just have to unscrew these little screws, put dielectric grease in there, twist up your wires, get them in there, and then we're almost ready. Before we screw these on, we got to put all the other pieces to it because this is the very end. So put in the butt piece, then the middle piece, the middle body here, and then the last piece, and this is what you're screwing in. So remember we said black is 1, check out right here, and red is 2. So 1, 1. I've never done this before, so this is my first time doing this. I'm not a real handy person, as you guys might know from my other videos, but I get this stuff done, bro. But I got awesome friends like my boy Fern, the F Train. He helps me with a lot of this stuff, man. So he's like my go-to guy for all my electrical questions. So if you don't got a Fern in your life, get yourself a Fern that give you all that guidance so you don't electrocute yourself to death. All right, so we got it all on, screwed in the wires, and now this last piece you want to screw in here. The tighter you screw it, it creates this waterlock seal right on the end here, which is really nice. So you can see that it's nice and tight. I'm still gonna heat shrink this end here, that way it just has a nice finished look to it. But there you go, you got your plug and you got your receptacle on the Autopilot. So that was a pretty easy install. Like I said, you can also do it on the back side where the battery box meets the plug to power up the trolling motor. I'm sorry guys, it is hot. I know you can see the crazy sweatiness right now. Woo! But that's it guys, I appreciate it. If you want to see what my Old Town Autopilot 136 setup looks like, I'll post a link to the video right here. Till next time guys, peace and God bless.